Good morning, 5th grader. I will be reading your packet for March 23rd. Your NTI Day Daily Overview. Math, page 3 through 8. Reading, page 9 through 14. Writing, page 15 through 17. Social Studies, page 18 through 21. PE and Health, pages 22 through 23. In school, you're taught a lesson and then given a test. In life, you're given a test that teaches you a lesson. Tom Baudet. Mathematics, Lesson Overview. Learning Target. I can use whole number exponents to denote powers of 10 and explain patterns of zeros when multiplying by powers of 10. The Daily Learning Plan. This lesson will focus on the foundations of the place value system, specifically the powers of 10. In this lesson, you will review the movement of numbers when multiplied and divided by powers of 10. In order to be successful in this lesson, you will need to follow each of the steps in the learning plan below. Today you will read the provided notes, pages 4 through 5, to gain understanding for today's learning target. Notice the focus is on the digits moving. Learn which direction it moves based on the operation and the number of places it will move based on the exponent. Complete the learning target practice, pages 6 through 7, using the notes from today's learning target. Answer each of the questions. To show your understanding of today's learning target, complete all parts of the practice. Show your work using a place value chart. This is an opportunity to engage the content to gain a deeper understanding of what we are doing. Complete the exit slip, page 8, to demonstrate your understanding of today's learning target. Mathematics, Learning Target Notes. Learning Target. I can use whole number exponents to denote powers of 10 and explain patterns of zeros when multiplying by powers of 10. Number 1. Numbers like 10, 100, or 1000 can be rewritten as a product of tens called powers of 10. You can write a power of 10 using an exponent. In the following example, the exponent 4 means to use the base 10 as a factor 4 times. 10 to the fourth power equals 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which equals 10,000. Check out this chart to show different ways to express the first 3 powers of 10. Standard form, products of 10, exponent form. 10, 10, and 10 to the first power. 100, 10 times 10, 10 to the second power. 1000, 10 times 10 times 10 is 10 to the third power. What patterns do you notice in multiplying by powers of 10? Number 2. Consider the following multiplication problems. 3 times 100, 3 times 1000, and 3 times 10,000. Multiplication can use powers of 10 to express these products in standard form differently. Standard form, using a power of 10, using factors of 10, and exponent form. 300, 3 times 100, 3 times 10 times 10, 3 times 10 to the second power. 3,000, 3 times 1,000, 3 times 10 times 10 times 10 is 3 times 10 to the third power. 30,000, 3 times 10,000, 3 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 3 times 10 to the fourth power. The questions must be, what exactly is happening? Do you see a pattern? Do you see the digits move? When numbers are multiplied by powers of 10, the digits in the numbers are actually moving to the left on the place value chart. Check this out with 3 times 100 equals 300. I have 3 hundreds, 0 tens, 3 ones. Notice how multiplying by 10 to the second, which is equal to 100, move the digits 2 places to the left on the place value chart. Multiplication set the direction to the right, and the exponent shows how many times each digit moved. In this case, there was only one digit in the number original. Adding zeros to the empty spaces in the tens and ones place was needed. Number 3, let's look at the dividing by powers of 10 by looking at 31.5 divided by 10 to the second power, which equals decimal point 315 thousandths. Hundreds, tens, ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Conversely, with division, the digits move to the right. Notice the 3 in the tens place move 2 places to the right to the tenth place. Once again, the exponent shows how many places to move. Number 4, here's the process. A, draw a place value chart. B, place the first number in the place value chart. C, using the operation sign, multiplication left or division right, determine the direction of the digits. D, move each digit the number of places as the exponent. E, the landing spot of each digit is your final answer. Mathematics, learning target practice. Learning target. I can use whole number exponents to denote powers of 10 and explain patterns of zeros when multiplying by powers of 10. Let's practice. Marta made an error while finding the product 84 decimal point 15 hundredths times 10. I wanted to multiply 84.15 times 10, so I put a 0 at the end to get my answer. 84.15 times 10 equals 84 decimal point 15 thousandths. In your own words, explain Marta's misunderstanding. Please explain what she should do to get the correct answer and include the correct answer in your response. Taylor has a digital scale. She puts a marshmallow on the scale and it reads 7.2 grams. How much would you expect 10 marshmallows to weigh? Explain your reasoning. Taylor takes the marshmallow off the scale. She then puts on 10 jelly beans and then the scale reads 12.0 grams. How much would you expect one jelly bean to weigh? Explain your reasoning. Taylor then takes off jelly beans and puts on 10 brand new pink erasers. The scale reads 312.4 grams. How much would you expect 1,000 pink erasers to weigh? Explain your reasoning. Mathematics, learning target assessment. Learning target. I can use whole number exponents to denote powers of 10 and explain patterns of zeros when multiplying by powers of 10. Let's see what you know. To show your understanding of this lesson's learning target, complete the short answer question below by answering all parts of the prompt. Be mindful, this is an opportunity to prove your understanding. Use a combination of math, pictures, and words to show it. Good luck. Using the Hubble Space Telescope, scientists at NASA are able to examine the small details on the landscape of Mars. With this high-tech telescope, objects seen on the ground on Mars are enlarged by 100, 10 to the second power, times on a high-definition screen. If a scientist finds a plant that is 0.065 inches tall, what is the size of the plant on the screen? Explain the placement of the decimal point in your answer. The learning target status is 0, needs remediation. 1 is you're near the learning target mastery, and 2 is your learning target mastery. In reading, lesson overview. Learning target. I can quote from a literary text to explain what the text says explicitly, clearly stated. Daily learning plan. This packet focus is on finding explicit information, specifically finding information directly in the text to answer questions. In this lesson, we will review how to find right there information. In order to be successful in this lesson, you will need to follow each of the steps in the learning plan below. Today you will read the provided notes, page 10, to gain understanding for today's learning target. Complete the learning target practice, pages 11 through 13. Using the notes from today's learning target, answer each of the questions. To show your understanding of today's learning target, complete all parts of the practice. This is an opportunity to engage the content to gain a deeper understanding of what we are doing. Complete the exit slip, page 14, to demonstrate your understanding of today's learning target. Reading, learning target notes. Learning target. I can quote from a literary text to explain what the text says explicitly, clearly stated. We can use evidence from the text to talk about characters, setting, events, conflict problems, and theme. Strategies to find explicit information. Right there questions. The answers can be found right in the text. Underline the answer in the text. Quote accurately from the text. Choose a sentence from the text. Copy word for word and use quotation marks. Text evidence sentence starters. On the page, it said, the author wrote, the graphic novel showed. An example is, in the text it said, I know because. Reading, learning target practice. Learning target. I can quote from a literary text to explain what the text says explicitly, clearly stated. Let's practice. Mr. Thomas sat on the front porch of his house in a bathrobe and bunny slippers, with his head in his palm. He was holding the daily newspaper. The sun shined brightly in the sky. His neighbors were coming out of their houses and getting in their cars. Mr. Thomas sighed. His neighbor, Mr. Rosencrantz, stepped out on his porch and saw Mr. Thomas. Did it again, huh? Said Mr. Rosencrantz. Mr. Thomas replied, Yep. Mr. Rosencrantz chuckled and said, Here, Mr. Thomas, you can use my cell phone. I could even keep a key over here if you wanted. And Tom thankfully grabbed the cell phone and called his wife. Honey, I did it again. Mr. Rosencrantz heard Mrs. Thomas yelling at Mr. Thomas in a distorted, high-pitched squeal. Yes, dear, I'm so sorry. I'll see you soon. Mr. Thomas returned the phone, sighed deeply, and ran his fingers through his hair. Where is Mr. Thomas in the passage? A. At Mr. Rosencrantz's house. B. With Mrs. Thomas. C. At work. D. At his house. Mr. Erickson was a manager at a small insurance company in Minnesota. One cold day in January, April McKenzie, one of his employees, approached him about some time off from work. This job is very important to me, Mr. Erickson, but I've been called into jury duty. When my government asks for my help, I have to answer the call. Mr. Erickson rubbed his forehead. We really need you here, April, but the government needs you more. Take the time. We'll be all right. Mr. Erickson thought they needed her there, but they managed fine without her. A week passed, and April returned to the office. When April returned, Mr. Erickson noticed that most of her body was a shade of bright red, except for around her eyes. Pale white circles ran from the top of her eyebrows to the bottom of her cheeks. These pale circles around her eyes were surrounded by sunburned flesh. That's when Mr. Erickson knew. April, step into my office. There are some things we need to discuss, Mr. Erickson said ominously. Why does April say she needs time off from work? A. She needs to help her mom. B. She has jury duty. C. She is tired and needs a break. Or D. She knows Mr. Erickson will let her. Practice answers. Text evidence has been underlined and answers have been bolded. Where is Mr. Thomas in the passage? Mr. Thomas sat on the front porch of his house. D. At his house. Question 2. Why does April say she needs some time off from work? B. She has jury duty. Mr. Erickson, but I've been called into jury duty. Reading. Learning Target Assessment. Learning Target. I can quote from a literary text to explain what the text says explicitly, clearly stated. Let's see what you know. Maya came out of the bathroom with tears in her eyes. She ran down to the cafeteria and asked the staff if they had any rice. Unfortunately for Maya, Miss Lucille did. Fortunately for Maya, Miss Lucille did. Miss Lucille filled a red plastic cup about halfway with white rice grains and handed it to Maya. Maya pulled a damp phone from out of her back pocket and pushed it into the dry rice grains inside of the plastic cup. She sincerely thanked Miss Lucille and then went back to class. She felt relieved, but she was still a little worried. A. Who gave Maya the red plastic cup? A. Miss Lucille. B. Maya. C. Her friends. How did Maya feel at the end of the passage? A. Sad. B. Relieved. C. Angry. Kevin wasn't worried about his book report. He had 3 whole weeks to get it done. There was no reason to get started right away, especially when he had just gotten a new video game. The next day, Kevin thought about going to the library to pick out a book for his report, but decided to play with his friends instead. He could go to the library on the weekend. The weekend came, and instead of going to the library, Kevin spent the whole weekend at his cousin's farm. He didn't go to the library the next week either, and there was always something fun to do instead. 2 weeks passed, and Kevin still hadn't picked out a book. By the time he finally got to the library, there was not enough time to read the book and write the paper. Kevin tried to write the report without reading the whole book, but it did not go very well. Kevin failed the assignment. What did Kevin do on the weekend instead of working on his school report? A. Played video games. B. Played with friends. C. Went to the library. Or D. Went to his cousin's farm. How long did Kevin have to write the report? A. 3 weeks. B. 2 weeks. C. 1 day. D. 3 days. Writing. Lesson overview. Learning target. I can write an opinion piece on a topic supporting my point of view with reasons and evidence. Weekly learning plan. This week we'll focus on opinion writing. This is your opportunity to practice the power of using your thoughts to effectively communicate your opinion. In order to allow you to work on the different elements of a complete writing piece, each day has its own focus. By Thursday, you will have a completed opinion piece and be ready to try one in one sitting on Friday. This week you will, on Monday, read the prompt and create a plan using a graphic organizer, the Foursquare. This is your chance to brainstorm ideas and design the flow of your piece. Tuesday, write the introduction. Be sure to grab your reader's attention with a great hook and state the purpose of your writing piece. Wednesday, Write the body of your piece using strong supporting details such as examples, explanations, and experiences. Make your plan come alive in your piece. Thursday, write your conclusion. This is your chance to bring all your thoughts to an end and leave the reader thinking. Friday, practice a new prompt and complete it all at one time. Time yourself. Try to complete it in 30 minutes. Writing the prompt, learning target. I can write an opinion piece on a topic, supporting my point of view with reasons and evidence. Using the opinion prompt below, analyze using a four-square organizer. Make sure to fill all sections in to organize your writing. The writing situation. Because of the risk of accidents, many states require motorists and bikers to wear helmets on the road. Some people think this is a good idea. Others disagree and say it is unfair to motorcycle and bike owners. The writing directions. Should bikers be required to wear helmets? Write a letter to the editor in which you share your point of view. Be sure to use strong evidence and support when you share your reasons as to why this is a good or unfair law. Pre-writing. This is where you will make your foursquare. Social studies, lesson overview, learning target. I can identify the geographic terms for water and landforms. Daily learning plan. This packet focuses on the foundations of geography, specifically the attributes of the United States. In this lesson, you will learn the basic water and landforms. In order to be successful in this lesson, you will need to follow each of the steps in the learning plan below. Today, you will read the provided notes, page 19, to gain understanding for today's learning target. Complete the learning target practice, page 20, using the notes from today's learning target. Answer each of the questions. To show your understanding of today's learning target, complete all parts of the practice. This is an opportunity to engage the content to gain a deeper understanding of what we are doing. Complete the exit slip, page 21, to demonstrate your understanding of today's learning target. Social studies, learning target notes. Learning target. I can identify the geographic terms for water and landforms. Read the following passage. 1.4. Using geographic terms for water and landforms. Landforms are masses of land, such as continents, islands, and peninsulas. Geographic terms or names help us describe different landforms and bodies of water. You already know what most of Earth's water is in the four oceans. A smaller body of salt water is called a sea. Sometimes part of a sea or an ocean cuts into a mass of land. A body of water like this is called a gulf. An example is the Gulf of Mexico near the southeastern part of the United States. A bay is similar to a gulf, but usually it is smaller and has a wide opening to the sea. A body of fresh water that is surrounded by land is called a lake. Water also flows in rivers. A river has a source, where the river begins. It also has a mouth, where the river empties into a larger body of water, like an ocean or a lake. A smaller stream that feeds into a river is called a tributary. The major types of landforms are mountains and plains. Mountains usually have steep sides and rise at least 2,000 feet above sea level. A row of connected mountains is called a mountain range. Plains are land that is mostly flat with few trees. You can see other landforms in the illustration above. A cape is an extension of land jutting out into the water that is usually smaller or thinner than a peninsula. A peninsula is surrounded by water on 3 sides. An island is completely surrounded by water. A valley is the low area between range mountains or hills. A delta is formed when soil is deposited into the mouth of a river. It is usually shaped like a triangle. Social Studies Learning Target Practice. Learning Target. I can identify the geographic terms for water and landforms. Let's practice. After reading the passage, label the following picture using the geographic terms for water and landforms. Refer to the word bank below. Here is our word bank. Mountain range, sea, gulf, tributary, delta. Island, lake, plain, peninsula, bay, source, valley, and mouth. Social Studies Learning Target Assessment. Learning Target. I can identify the geographic terms for water and landforms. Let's see what you know. To show your understanding of this lesson's learning target, complete each of the questions below by selecting the correct answer. Be mindful, this is an opportunity to prove your understanding. Good luck. Number 1. Which of the following is formed when soil is deposited at the mouth of a river? A. Plain, B. Tributary, C. Delta, or D. Gulf? Number 2. What is a body of fresh water surrounded by land? A. Lake, B. Sea, C. Bay, or D. Gulf? Number 3. What is an extension of land jutting out into the water that is usually smaller or thinner than a peninsula? A. Valley, B. Island, C. Delta, D. Cape. Learning Target Status. PE and Health Daily Lesson. My Plate, ages 9 to 13. Label the food groups on the plates below. Cut and paste pictures from the bottom of the page to show a well-balanced menu for one day. Use the guidelines below. Fruit, grains, vegetables, proteins, dairy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The guidelines are fruit equals 1.5 cups. Vegetables is 2 cups for girls, 2.5 cups for boys. Grains is 5 ounces for girls, 6 ounces for boys. Protein is 5 ounces and dairy is 3 cups. My Plate, ages 9 to 13. Fruits. Small fruits like apples, oranges, peaches, and plums will count as 1/2 cup serving. If you are drinking juice, you will need to remember that 4 ounces is the same as 1/2 cup. Larger fruits like watermelon, cantaloupe, or pineapple will need to be eaten in moderation. Try comparing your serving size of them to that of a small apple. You will need 1 1/2 cups of fruit per day. Vegetables. The serving size of vegetable will vary depending on the size of the vegetable. 1 corn on the cob will count as 1 serving or 1/2 cup. A large sweet potato may count as a whole cup. If you stick to eating 1/2 cup portions, you will need to eat 4 to 5 servings of vegetables a day, which is the same as 2 to 2.5 cups. Grains. Bread, pasta, oatmeal, rice, breakfast cereals, and tortillas are examples of grains. We need 5 to 6 ounces of grains per day. You will need to look up the ounces on the packages of the grains that you eat. They will vary depending on the size of the food. Most slices of bread are equal to 2 ounces. Protein. All foods made from meat, poultry, seafood, and beans are part of the protein group. Eggs, nuts, and seeds are also considered part of the protein food group. You need to eat no more than 5 ounces of protein per day. 1 egg is about 1 ounce. 1 slice of bacon is also about 1 ounce. Other meats like steak or chicken should be small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. That amount would be considered about 2 ounces. Dairy. Foods made from milk that retain their calcium content are part of the dairy group. This includes cheeses, milk, and yogurt. We need to eat 3 cups of dairy per day. You will need to read the label to see how many ounces each food item has per serving. Remember, 8 ounces equals 1 cup. All right, that concludes today's reading, and I will see you guys on the next day. If you have any questions, please contact your teacher.